So welcome everyone. Unfortunately, I am gathering that Shakara Joseph was not able to join us today. As I mentioned, she is on flight to Toronto and must have been delayed. So I will offer her words of welcome on her behalf. Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 2022 Company Program Executive Training. We're excited to have each of you join us today from various communities across the province. While circumstances have kept us from meeting in person this year, next year we will be together, I promise, the JA Nova Scotia team has curated a group of fantastic mentors and business leaders for you to learn from during our time together. They will share with you several engaging activities to help you connect to your purpose, improve your business and personal storytelling, and learn how to succeed in an ever-changing world. I am confident that today will present you with a unique opportunity to build your current skill set and to better prepare yourself for the world of business and work. So try to keep an open mind and stay curious. What, why, when, who, where, and how are the best friends of curious people. And finally, to our presenters, Daniel, Leah, Hannah, and Brett, thank you. We are so grateful to have you sharing your time and talent with us. I know the Achievers will echo their gratitude for all they learn from each of you and your presentation. Let's have a great afternoon together. I would like to ask our first host to introduce today's first session facilitator. Oh, that's me. Sorry. I'm Shakara now. Excuse me, everybody. Okay, so our first, that's great. Our first session facilitator is Daniel Race. Welcome, Daniel. Daniel is a student at Dalhousie University, enrolled in the Corporate Residency MBA program, bachelor's degree in neuroscience from Dalhousie University with specific interest and research in social cognition and learning and conditioning. Daniel's career goal is to work in a dynamic and social environment where they can integrate their skills and interests to facilitate an inclusive workplace and create meaningful impact in the surrounding community. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you so much for having me. Just to check, can everyone still hear me nice and clear? Okay, perfect. I'll get started. Again, nice to see all your faces. Very happy to be here, and I hope you can glean a lot from this session we're about to start. So this workshop is called Thriving in a Complex World, and this session is based on socially contagious evidence-based practices that are currently being used by over 1,100 university students. So over the next 25 minutes, we're going to cover some skills that are helpful when coping with difficult situations, developing positive thinking habits, fostering strong and supportive relationships, and redirecting negative self-talk to become more resilient, confident, and hopeful. So together we'll run through 4 different exercises, and I will be asking you to interact in the chat box if you feel comfortable. And I would love to have your opinion throughout those sessions, but again, only share what you're comfortable with sharing. So to get us started, I'd like everyone to just drop a word in the chat that describes how they're feeling today. So I'll join you, and my word is going to be energized. Tired, restless, tired. I think March is a pretty busy time of year, no matter what type of student you are, so I understand that. Refreshed, calm, love to see that. Content, happy, good, ready. Wonderful. So quite a broad spectrum of different places that we're all at here that we're joining together. Happy, happy, wonderful, lots of happy. At least I think with this weather today, it's a reason we can all be happy given the past week that we've had. So I think I'll stop there, but thank you all for leaving those answers in the chat. All fantastic, all valid answers. But I want to now shift our focus a little bit to talk about resilience. So first of all, what does it mean to be resilient? Resilience is the ability to bounce back in a difficult situation and to cope with difficult times. Resilience is a social skill that requires us to develop positive thinking habits. And this is a tool that is beneficial to all of us because we're really growing up and living in an increasingly complex world. And life in general right now, I'm sure, as we can all relate, is filled with quite a few uncertainties. So you may be wondering, how do I develop this skill? How do I develop resilience? The answer is really practice. So here are some examples of ways that you can develop that skill. First, making meaningful connections with others, maintaining a daily routine that includes rest, exercise, healthy eating, and play, moving towards your goals one step at a time, meaning breaking things down into small, achievable goals and acknowledging your accomplishments, nurturing a positive self-view, so a positive view of yourself, and always keeping things in perspective and maintaining a hopeful outlook. So think a little bit about those steps for a moment. I know they might seem a little vague right now, but as we go through this session, we'll give you some tools that you can specifically work to hone those skills. And overall, you should leave feeling a little bit more resilient, or at least on the path to becoming more resilient. And thank you again for your interaction in the chat. So I'll get started now in part one of the session, and part one is called Helping Ourselves and Others. So in this part, we're going to do 2 activities that are useful to help us develop a foundation for positive thinking habits and the ability to learn new ways to foster strong and positive relationships to work together. So the first exercise in this part is the gratitude exercise. So just talking about gratitude in general now and some of the benefits that it can bring to you in your own life. Some of those include a reduction of stress, increased feelings of happiness, a positive mood, increased sleep quality, increased emotional tranquility, and an overall increased sense of hope. So having a gratitude practice in your life helps you appreciate what you have, moves your focus away from the negative. So in this exercise, that's exactly what we're going to do. Instead of focusing on the negative, we're going to try to accentuate the positive. So again, in the chat box, I want you to all think about someone in your life that you're grateful for. And if you feel comfortable, I'd like you to write their first name in the chat box. So some examples of this, it could be someone that has supported you in general. It could be someone that has offered help when you needed it, or someone you can depend on in general in whatever mean throughout your life. So I'll add mine. Mine is going to be Jackie, which is my mother's name. My mom, I think parents are a pretty common one. I see Jake, Ben, father, Bernie, wonderful. My siblings, supervisors, also great support system, especially as you're finishing high school and looking forward into your future. Your kids, again, it really can be anyone in your life from any aspect, whether it's school, your family, your work, and it really doesn't matter what age they are or where they come to you in your life. Okay, great answers. Thanks, everyone. And then let's take a moment and reflect on our gratefulness and allow time to take that feeling in. So think about the name and the person you just mentioned. And when you're ready, I want you to provide at least one word, or it can be a few, in the chat to describe why you chose that person. So it can be what specifically you're grateful for, what does this person mean to you, or what kind of value do they provide to your life? So I'll say for my mother, it's support and guidance. I see joy, motivation, strong connection. That's a wonderful one. Support, probably accommodating. Yep, their encouragement and kindness, super important. Dedicated, encouragement, support. Trustworthy and understanding. Yeah, so really seeing support as a common one, which is great. And happiness, selflessness. Those are wonderful. Thanks, everyone. So now thinking about this person that you just mentioned and the specific reason or traits for why you're grateful to have them in your life, this is the really powerful part. This is the real part of this exercise, is that over the next 24 hours, I want you to all actually reach out to this person you wrote down and share your gratitude. So you can do this however you feel comfortable. You can do it through a text, you can do it through an email, you can do it through Facebook Messenger, you can do it through a phone call, and of course you can do it in person. Just however you're most comfortable relaying this gratitude and this message to that person, I encourage you to do that. And just thinking about this exercise, you likely felt great just right now, thinking about this person and going through the action of recognizing their contributions to your life. And now imagine being in their shoes and how great it would be to receive that gratitude from you. So think about that for a second. And thank you all again for sharing your answers in the chat. It's great. So now moving on from the gratitude exercise, the second exercise in this part is all focused on purposeful praise. So purposeful praise, or praise in general, some benefits that it could have for you in your life. Recharging relationships, praise can foster mutual appreciation between people and allow us to do things better together and work together better. Everyone enjoys praise. It's a way that we can show respect, appreciation, and admiration, but it's also important to know that this is not about feedback or criticism, but specifically praise, and tied in a little bit to the gratitude that we just did. So now, again, if you're comfortable, I'd like you to take 30 seconds or so and think about some ways that you can give people praise, in terms of like praise phrases. And any ones you can think of, I'd like you to drop them in the chat. So for example, the one I'll drop in the chat, it's pretty simple and common, it's good job. So I'm sure you've heard similar praises like that a lot, specifically in school, they're quite common. But again, it could be anywhere in your life. I appreciate you, I'm proud of you, nice work. I appreciate you is a wonderful one, I really like that one. Appreciate how you did. Thank you for doing that. So getting a little bit more specific. Well done, it's a great one. So I think from even those, you kind of get the sense, this idea of what a praise phrase is. I think we're all familiar with them, and I'm sure you've heard many more throughout your life and your experience as students or employees. You make a positive difference in my day, that's a beautiful one. Now I want you to shift your thinking, and I want to think, have you ever received a praise from someone that didn't feel good? Or maybe that it didn't feel like praise at all? In this event, you might have been experiencing something called conditional praise. So I'll give you some examples now of a praise that we consider was given in a good and bad way. And I'm just going to paste them in the chat so you have a visual representation as well, so you can follow. But I'm going to take this praise and give it to you in a good way and a bad way, so you can see the difference. So first, the good praise. Someone could say, you did this well. I appreciate that you enjoy learning new skills, so let's take the next step and add this as part of your routine. So that's a great praise. There's an action, there's a follow through at the end. Now, giving a similar praise in a bad way could sound like, you did a good job, but I would like to see you do it this way. So what happened here is that they left the recipient in the bad praise with the impression that they didn't do a good job. So adding that but kind of changed everything really, and took away all the power that initial praise phrase had at the start of the compliment. So while wording in the good phrase, they encourage you to keep learning, as I said. So they still had a way to keep motivating the person to work further and to develop further, but there was no negative connotations in their delivery, right? So now let's look at another example. And I'll paste this one in the chat as well so you can see it. So the good praise example, I'm very impressed with your project work. I knew you could do it. And then a similar but bad version of that could be, I am very impressed with your project work. You surprised me as I didn't think you could do it. So you can see how they're very similar, but that little change in language really makes the bad praise really leave the person with a negative feeling, even though the person who's delivering it probably meant it in a nice, kind way, and probably in an encouraging way as well. So keeping that in mind, it's important when giving praise to understand that some praise can have a negative impact. And as I said, the deliverer may not even realize that they've left this negative effect on the recipient. Not only does doing so neutralize this initial praise, but it can also be detrimental to the recipient's confidence long-term. So the take home from this is that it's important that we're being really mindful when we're delivering praise of people's efforts, so that we're not delivering that kind of negative hook at the end, and that our praise is really impacting them in a positive way and leaving people with increased confidence. So again, for this exercise, I have another call to action for you to implement in your lives. I would like you to also think of someone in your life who has recently done something worthy of praise. Reach out to them again over the next 24 hours and share your purposeful praise. And again, try to be careful with your delivery and mindful that you're giving them a true purposeful praise and not one that is bad praise or conditional. So think about that. And again, thank you for your interaction in the chat. So now I'm just going to move on to part 2. And part 2 is focused on grounding and rebounding. And this part will also incorporate 2 different exercises. So the first exercise we're going to do is called changing self-talk. So self-talk, what are some benefits of changing the way you talk to yourself in your mind? So first of all, negative self-talk, or sometimes known as your inner critic, can reduce your overall motivation and confidence, especially in the long term and over time. Positive self-talk can help you gain perspective and reach your potential. So for this exercise, I want you to think about a negative thought you are having or an assumption you have about yourself and write it down. If you feel comfortable again, you can put this in the chat. I'll put just an example in the chat of something that could be a negative thought you have. Mine could be, I will not do well on my test on Monday. So it can be something as simple and passing as that. Again, if you don't feel comfortable with the chat, I do encourage you to write it down either in a notepad with you, or if you have a Word doc open, that's totally fine. But kind of think about recently maybe some of those thoughts you might have had about yourself or your situation. And now I want you to think of 3 strong statements that dispute the negative assumption or thought you just mentioned and write those down. So for example, for my negative thought I just provided in the chat, I could think of these 3. So if okay, I see someone else is concerned about failing a test on Wednesday, very similar. And you might have the same counter arguments as I just presented. I'm horrible at calculus. So if I'm worried about something like a test, I could say, I have prepared and studied for my test, which I'm sure likely we all would have. I've done well in the past when I've studied, so I have this history that also negates these feelings. And then lastly, if I give my best effort, that is what is important. So you can see how those all kind of counteract that initial negative thought I had about my test on Monday. Now, a difficult thing with this is sometimes, especially when we're just beginning to implement this goal, it can be hard to think of those 3 counter affirmations yourself. So one thing that's useful to do is to use a friend to help you come up with those 3. So to give you an example of how that can work now, I'm just going to do a bit of a role play with Kristen and show you how 2 friends could interact with each other to come up with these 3 affirmations.
Hi, Daniel. Are you ready for the test today?
I'm a little nervous as I think I may not do well.
Have you been practicing our self-talk exercises?
Yes, I have to come up with 2 challenges to help relieve my nerves so far. The first one is that I have been studying every day for the past 4 days. And the second one is that I've never failed a test before, but I could use a little help with the third.
Well, I'm here to help. I know that you've been using cue cards to study. Do you find that you're getting most of the answers right?
Yes, I am. I'm getting most of them right. There are just a few that I have to keep reviewing.
I think that's a great sign that you're ready for the test.
Thanks, Kristen. I needed that little nudge. I'm going to go review the last few cue cards. I'll see you at the test.
Great. See you there.
So after this role play, you can see that the objective here overall is to get yourself into the habit of countering your negative thoughts with these 3 affirmations. And like we just showed, if you can't come up with those 3 on your own, asking a friend to help you come up with a third is a great way to help you overcome that initial negative thought. If your example or your negative thought is a little more challenging and personal, don't worry, this practice still works. And it's okay if your feeling isn't attached to a specific action. In that situation, the help from a friend can be even more beneficial, as it might be even harder to think about those 3 affirmations. And lastly, just like any sport or with any skill, this one takes practice. So if this feels difficult now, especially when you're first starting to implement this practice, just know that it will get better. And if you practice with a friend, this practice or this skill can grow just even faster. So again, thank you for participating in the chat, especially the few brave ones of you. And I hope that you guys took something away from that and were able to think of at least a few affirmations for that negative thought that you wrote down. So now we'll move on to the last exercise. And this one is called the 60-second distraction exercise. So distractions. Distractions are excellent for downregulating, feeling more grounded, prepared, and calm, specifically in times where you might be in high stress environments. Yes, you do have the opportunity to get better. Distractions can also increase your focus and attention, again, in times where you're at high stress. And this is really one of the most powerful tools you'll leave with today because it only takes 60 seconds to interrupt a negative emotion. And this could be an emotion that's causing you to have a bad day. And just taking that 60 seconds can completely shift that emotion and change that trajectory of your day. So for this prompt in the chat, I'd like you to all think about some effective 60-second distractions you do in your own life and share them if you feel comfortable. And it's important here to remember that these need to be brief distractions limited to 60 seconds. So I can just share some of mine with you now. 2 things I love to do if I'm really stressed, especially where I'm in a virtual environment, as I'm sure most of you have been over the past few years, is that I will get up off of my desk where I am right now, walk out to my living room, flip through a magazine for 60 seconds, just to get myself in a different headspace. Or it even can be something as simple as just getting up, grabbing a drink from the kitchen, looking at the window, doing a lap, whatever you need to do to kind of get yourself out of that space. I see Krista said Baby Yoda memes. Memes are great, a little laugh therapy, just to kind of break that tension, change your energy. Push-ups, healthy as well. Get a little exercise in 60 seconds. Singing, that certainly raises your vibration. Playing with a dog. I don't have a dog, I'm very jealous. If I had a dog or a cat, I would have said that for sure. A little walk, a lay down. I like that one too. Sometimes I just need to be horizontal and not in a chair for 60 seconds. And deep breathing. Funny you say that. That's a good one. So thank you all again for adding those in the chat. Oh, I take a second to clear my head and everything to stop the fast motion. Talk to my sister. Yeah, talking to someone else, especially even if you have roommates, is a great way to ground yourself. Those are all wonderful answers. So now for the rest of this exercise, just going back to, I think Andrew, who said push-ups and deep breathing, we're going to watch a video on the box breathing technique. And this is also a great way to kind of ground yourself and bring yourself back down in moments of tension. So this is a useful tool because sometimes you're in class and you can't get up or leave, or you're on a Zoom call, but you need a 60-second break to turn that flow of your day around. The technique in this video is useful because you can basically do it anywhere prior to an exam, a sports game, or an important event, or like I said, even in the classroom. And the idea here is that it only takes 60 seconds to change the flow of your day. So I'm just going to share this video with you all. Share sound, share.
There are times when we all experience feelings of stress or anxiety. In these moments, you can use your breath to help calm those feelings. Box breathing is a simple relaxation technique that can help you reset
Sorry. Let's try this again.
There are times when we all experience feelings of stress or anxiety. In these moments, you can use your breath to help calm those feelings. Box breathing is a simple relaxation technique that can help you reset your breath and return to its normal rhythm. You can do it anywhere, anytime. Box breathing can help reduce stress and improve mood. It can also help with controlling and managing emotions. It's very easy to learn. Imagine breathing around a box. Inhale as you visualize going up one side of the box, gradually filling your lungs with air. When you reach the top, hold your breath for 1 to 5 seconds as you picture going across the top of the box. Exhale gradually as you imagine traveling down the other side of the box. Pause again for 1 to 5 seconds as you go along the bottom of the box. Then repeat. This can be done 7 to 10 times in a row, focusing on the breath. If you can do it sitting down with your feet grounded, that will help too. But really, it can be done anywhere. Box breathing has physiological and psychological benefits. Physiologically, it regulates breath, increases oxygen to the lungs, and can help reduce blood pressure and lower heart rate. Box breathing can help psychologically by providing focus to your breath and removing attention from the things that are causing feelings of stress and anxiety. The repetition of box breathing can also help reduce stress. So, in moments when feelings of stress and anxiety are overwhelming, remember box breathing and the power of your breath as a simple way to relax and breathe a bit easier.
So thank you. I hope that came through clear on everyone else's end. But you get the idea there, how you can use that as a quick grounding technique, no matter where you are, no matter how many people are around you, what environment you are in. And now to close out the session, I'd like you to all write at least one word in the chat that illustrates how you feel now. So similar to what we did when we started the session, just again, put one word describing your feelings in the moment. Content, calm, happier. Glad to hear that. Sleepy. That can happen with the breathing technique too. Okay, seeing a lot of calm. So notice how those are all quite a bit different than they were the first time. Sleepy, relaxed. Excellent. Well, I agree. That is the outcome we would expect or hope from any of these sessions. And I really encourage all of you to kind of carry those with you and see how well you can implement them in your life going forward from your day-to-day, especially in school and managing stress. And I want to thank you all again for being great participants, especially you guys were so nice and active in the chat. That was really helpful for me in terms of feeling your energy. And it was great to see you all virtually through the screen. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your session.
Daniel, this was wonderful. I can sincerely say that I'm very grateful and appreciative that you were here today. You certainly set the tone for this afternoon's event. And we wish you all the best. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Heidi Wygand and Dr. Kristen Williams for supporting this activity for the students. And thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Nicola. So Nicola asked me to quickly introduce myself as I'm very new to the JA Nova Scotia team. So my name's Sarah Oakley, and I joined the team about a month ago as the French education lead. But on to the good stuff now. So I'd like to introduce you to Leah Jessup, who's the marketing and e-commerce lead at Made with Local, which is a snack foods company based in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Leah will be your facilitator for this session, which is exploring digital advertising. So as you may have seen on the slide there, in this exciting activity, you're going to explore digital advertising trends from your favorite brands. So with a behind the scenes peek at the social media ads your brand of choice is running, you'll get to investigate the topics, themes, and marketing strategies these companies are using to attract customers. So Leah, I'm going to pass it along to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for that great introduction. So yeah, it's nice to be here today. Thank you everybody for having me. I have what I think is a very exciting activity. So yeah, looking forward to doing it. So I'm just going to share my screen. I have a couple slides to present, and then we'll get into the activity. It involves breakout rooms, so you'll be broken into your rooms, and you can kind of chat amongst each other for the exercise, and then we'll have a little discussion at the end. Okay, can you all see my presentation?
Perfect.
Wonderful. All right. Okay, so so today we'll be exploring digital advertising. That's the title of the presentation. And essentially what we'll be doing is taking a behind the scenes look, what I like to kind of call a behind the scenes look at social media ads. So social media ads specifically relating to those on Facebook and Instagram. As you all know, they're owned by the same company, and it's a really fun little tool I'm going to show you that you can use to take a peek at ads that companies are running. So just to give you a brief introduction to digital advertising. So digital advertising refers to marketing through online platforms and channels such as social media and websites. So it's probably in this day and age, the version of marketing that we're all kind of used to. There's not as much traditional marketing going on. So companies actually spend on average over half of their marketing budgets on digital advertising. And that again is compared to traditional marketing, which refers to things like print media, billboards. Radio is actually a traditional marketing channel, and things like product sampling in stores, and sort of the tangible aspects of advertising. So digital advertising has grown a lot over the past probably 10 years, and that's no surprise given that we all are spending more and more time online, and more people have cell phones and computers, and more people are using social media. So it's just been a natural progression. But over the past, I would say 2 years, with COVID, and as we all know, with lockdowns and things, people spending more time in their homes, digital marketing and digital advertising has seen a large leap in the dollars that companies are putting behind it, and just the efforts that are going into it, because companies are trying to sort of get in your home with you. They're trying to reach you in your home where you're not spending as much time out in public, you're not driving the roads as much and looking at billboards, things like that. So we've seen a large increase in the digital advertising spend, and the mass of digital ads in the past 2 years. And digital advertising is predicted to dominate the marketing landscape in 2022 and beyond, which I don't think is any shock to anybody. So companies are dishing out millions of dollars in an effort to stand out in the digital ad space. But with trends moving really rapidly online, which any social media user knows, it's companies are always trying to navigate what makes a good ad campaign. So that's sort of what we're going to look at today. Is we're going to investigate some different ads and see what stands out, and see some different messages and themes that companies are putting out into the world. There we go. So for the exercise, essentially, we are going to be exploring ads from your favorite companies. So what you're going to do is choose a company that you like, a brand. It could be your favorite clothing brand, or a snack food company made with local, for example. I like clothing and snack food companies and food companies in general because I find them really interesting, and they always have really interesting ads. So you're going to choose a company and search for them on what is called the Facebook Ads Library. So it's actually a public platform where you can see all the ads that companies are running on Facebook and Instagram. So it feels kind of creepy. It feels like you shouldn't be able to see those things. But as we know with the internet is a little bit creepy, and you can, and it's fine. You don't even need a Facebook account. And then we're going to look at the type of content they're putting out there. So I'm going to ask you to kind of jot down 3 things. So the type of content, is it mostly product images, product videos, customer reviews? What is sort of the creative aspect of their ad? Because there's 2 parts to an ad, the creative and what's called the copy. So copy is text. In digital advertising, it is, the caption on the photo or the video. And that's the next thing we're going to look at. So first being the creative and then the copy. So the messaging and themes that the company is communicating in the copy and also in the ad itself. So, what stands out for you in the ad? Are they talking about a new product? Are they talking about the sustainability of their company? What themes are they kind of trying to get across to consumers? And this will just be a fun little way to digest ads at a level that we typically don't. All right, so I did a quick example just to show you all what we're looking for. So I looked up Nalgene, which we all know is a water bottle company, and they have a couple ads going in their in Facebook and Instagram. Their content is mostly outdoorsy shots of the product, a lot of mountains and beaches and waterfalls. Which makes sense because they are a water bottle brand. So, they want to promote a fun and active lifestyle. There's a little bit of video in their ads, but it's mostly still images, which it was a bit surprising to me because video is really taking over the digital landscape, I guess. As consumers of media, we all know that video is more fun to watch than looking at an image and reading text. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're going through this exercise yourself. And then for the messaging, what I picked out was that a lot of their ads were talking about a new recycled bottle line that they have going on. So they have bottles that are made of recycled content. And another thing they were really trying to get across was they have a wide variety of options. They kept using sort of the phrase that they have something for everybody. So lots of colors and styles and kids bottles and adult bottles. And so the theme that I sort of picked out was sustainability. And that was a core theme that seemed to run through all their ads. No surprise, a reusable water bottle company would be talking about sustainability, but obviously that's something that is in their company's mission. And from what I can gather, they're doing a good job at getting that across in their ads. So that is just an example of the exercise. And you guys, when you go out into your breakout rooms, someone can just take notes, I guess, and we can share at the end, or just drop them in the chat. Might be fun too. If you don't want to speak, I can speak for you on the topics, and we can have a little discussion.
Okay, that's great. Leah, are you ready for me to put them in breakout rooms now?
Just one more step, and then we will be. So I'm gonna introduce you to the Facebook Ads Library. So here it is. I'll drop this link in the chat as well. I'm not sure if you'll be able to click it from the slide, but this is what it is. So this is where you're going to search for your brand. Under this search ads title here, you're going to select all. Choosing all countries is just will give you more results. And then under the ad category, you're going to search all ads. And I was searching some before. So for example, this is Starbucks. So this is all of the ads that Starbucks is running. Obviously, it's their spring campaign. They're getting ready for spring. They have new blends and flavors. So these are the ads that you yourself might have seen. Some things I can pick out here is they're using very spring colors, very fun, packaging. They have some new flavors. I really enjoyed these videos that are kind of stop motion-y, which is really popular nowadays. And yeah, the messaging they're really getting across is, spring and sort of, get Starbucks into your spring routine. They have new home products. So you guys get the gist. And I'll just flip back to my presentation here. So yeah, we can break out into rooms. Also, if you are stuck on a brand, because not all brands will have ads running. I have some examples at the bottom here that I looked up, and they do have ads running. So if you search a couple and you can't find any, choose one of these brands and you'll be good to go. So yeah, I think we're good to go into our breakout rooms. I'll pop this link in the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute.
Okay, thank you. Leah had suggested maybe groups of 4. I'm going to just set an automatic assignment. So you'll get to meet other students, not necessarily from your company, which is exciting. And once you're in the room, I'll take a look and see if everyone's dispersed well. And if there's advisors, if they want to join a room and see what's going on, please feel free to do so.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll give you a couple minutes, I guess, to find a brand. And if you're having any trouble, just drop a message in the chat and I can help you out. And I think, does everybody know the 3 things we're looking for? The content, the themes, and the messaging. I think we got it all down pat.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I think we're all back. So does anybody have any, did they want to share their example in the chat, or you can hop on the mic and let me know what brand you chose and what stood out to you in the ads that they were running?
I chose Monster Energy, and the biggest thing that I could find was a lot of sports, especially winter sports right now, stuff like skateboarding. So just a lot of stuff to do with like energizing and really getting out outside and doing a lot of stuff.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Yeah, I would say, and Monster Energy probably has a lot of sports sponsorships, and it's a lot of winter sports going on right now. So that's awesome. Did anybody else have an example?
I did Coca-Cola, and it was mainly just focused on like getting refreshed and stuff, and that was, basically it, just boosting energy, sort of like the Monster Energy, what she said. So, but it wasn't so much focused on sports. It was more focused on like just your everyday life, just being able to be energized all the time. So
nice. Yeah, bigger companies like that are definitely able to simplify their messages a bit more and still get a pretty broad impact. So that's probably what you'll see with bigger companies like that. Did anybody else want to share?
Yeah. So I looked up North Face, and for mine, it's kind of more based on outdoors. Since it's the outdoor company, but specifically at this time is more winter sports, specifically skiing and snowboarding, common like that. So the theme, so that's mainly the theme. Like, and one interesting thing I found was that it kind of like tried to incorporate like other people, as there was one ad about the first disabled person skiing, which was pretty interesting. So I feel like he's kind of using this to kind of show, like, build a better picture about the company. So kind of generate, a better picture. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, companies are definitely trying to story tell as best as they can in their ads, especially bigger ones like North Face. They have obviously really interesting stories to tell and want to put off a message of inclusivity. So those are great things to pick out.
I'd love to share one that we were looking at. One of the ones I was looking at, the students were looking at different ones as well, but the Olympics was one of the ones that we saw. And one of their ads was about having the audience share their experience And so their advertising was actually focused on resharing pictures that the audience has posted, maybe that they were using a hashtag or they had tagged the Olympics in it, which I think is really interesting for students' companies because it's essentially you have your audience and your market creating the content for you to share. And so it's a low cost way to, share marketing or market your product. And it's also a great way to demonstrate, people are interested in this and, trying to turn it to what the students are doing in terms of developing their products and selling those services. So it might not work for all the types of businesses under JA, of course, but it's an interesting tactic that maybe some students should look into for their products and their business.
Certainly. Yeah. So that kind of content is called what we call UGC in the marketing world. Is user generated content. So it's content that people who are using your products have sort of created for you. And that's a really common strategy in marketing, is to use things like that, because obviously it's relatable and it's stuff that's created by people kind of just like us. So people relate to it. Awesome. Allie says that they chose Foot Locker, and they said they want to advertise towards youth who want to stay active, towards athletes, and they're using very colorful photos of shoes to get people excited for the warmer weather. Wow, that is great. I'm definitely excited for warmer weather. Thank you everybody for sharing. I think we're running over time, but I hope this activity was engaging for all of you, and it's really fun to look in the ads library. So if you want to explore more, I certainly encourage you to do that.
Thank you, Leah. I had no idea that you could access timeline of ads like that. So that kind of blew my mind a little bit. And also I'm probably going to spend a fair bit of time looking at it. And I like that you can filter. So it was, to be able to access even in different languages and stuff would be really neat to look at. And the activity was super engaging. I think the students got a lot out of that. And I would imagine it would help them in their planning as they get prepared to market their products. So thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to pass things back to Nicola.
Thank you, Nicola. So hello all, and I'm Vishaka, and I've been working with the Junior Achievement Nova Scotia as an engagement coordinator. Some of you might have seen me in your company programs popping in and out, and if you have not yet seen me, I'll be in your meeting soon. So I'm here to introduce Hannah Chisholm, and she's the CEO and founder of Excitables, which is a product-based business which manufactures and sells chickpea-based egg substitute and which can be used for cooking and baking. Hannah graduated from St. Francis Xavier University in 2018, and she has a business degree in entrepreneurship. So I would like to hand over to Hannah now, and she'll take the session forward.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. I did Junior Achievers for 3 years when I was in high school, a little bit a while ago now. But yeah, and then I graduated high school, went to business school, and now I'm running a business full time. So I'm super excited to do a workshop with you guys today. I'm just gonna share my screen. Awesome. So today I'm going to be talking about crafting your purpose as an organization. So really we're going to define like what your company's value is. And I know a lot of you guys think, oh, it's my product or service, but it's a lot more than that. And how to communicate that value with customers. So these are just a couple goals that we have for our session today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's important to define your purpose and value as an organization. We're going to talk about a couple examples. So some businesses that have defined their purpose and some ways that they communicate that purpose with their customers. And then we're going to dive right in and determine how to define your company's purpose and value. We're going to do a little bit of an exercise where you guys will go into breakout rooms according to your companies to help define your company purpose. And then I'll just briefly talk about some best practices that you can use whenever you're trying to communicate your company's value with your customers. So I know you guys have seen this template before, Business Model Canvas, one of my personal favorites. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today in terms of defining your organizational value is ultimately in your value proposition. And so, like I said, we'll talk about, defining your product or service, but also defining your ultimate purpose as an organization. And then we'll also briefly talk a little bit about communication. So managing those customer relationships and relationships in general with people that you talk to your business about. So you're going to hear me use several words interchangeably. I'll say things like purpose, value, mission statement, purpose statement. These are I'll use them interchangeably. For the purpose of this presentation, we'll just all kind of bundle them into the same thing. And in the real world, businesses often define these as different statements and different guiding principles for their company, but today we're just going to call it purpose. And ultimately, the purpose of your organization is the reason why your business exists. So why do people give you money for your product or service? Why should they buy from you instead of a competitor? Why are you in business? So why is it important to define your company's purpose? Developing a purpose statement or a mission statement is a really easy and efficient way to communicate what your business does. Like, why does your business exist? What is your company's value? Developing a purpose statement also ensures you and your team members are all on the same page. If I ask, your sales director, what's your company's purpose? I should get the same answer from that person as your operations manager. So everyone on your team should all know what your company's purpose is. And it also, defining your company's purpose also ensures that you have consistent communication when you're talking to your customers. So the words that you use, the tone that you use on your packaging should be the same that you use for social media. So I'm sure most of you guys know Patagonia. It's a very, very strong purpose-led organization. They make fabulous clothing. Does anyone know Patagonia's mission statement or their purpose? You may think it's a clothing company. Perhaps their purpose statement is to offer high quality clothing or sustainable clothing, but it's not. Oh gosh. So this is Patagonia's mission statement. So to build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire, and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. So that is a huge mission statement. And I want you guys to keep in mind that even though your product or service is not saving the world, it's still important to have a purpose statement. So Patagonia is a very large organization. They have a lot of projects, a lot of products, a lot of customers. So it's really important for them to define their company's purpose. So no matter who you are, you know what Patagonia is about. So this mission statement really helps them navigate their strategy as an organization and helps them make decisions. So Patagonia does a lot of activism. They participate in lots of environmental projects. They've given, thousands or probably millions of dollars to nonprofit organizations to help the planet. They are very transparent when it comes to their environmental footprint. You can go on their website and see just how many carbon emissions that they're creating, how much waste they produce. They are very, very transparent when it comes to communicating their environmental footprint. And they're very, very strong with their business decisions too. So Patagonia recently decided to stop doing Facebook and Instagram advertising because it didn't align with their mission statement or their company values. And having a purpose or a mission statement is also really helpful in terms of communicating with your customers. So when I think of Patagonia, I think of clothing, and I think of environmental sustainability and activism. So this is just a screenshot directly from their website. It says, we're in the business to save our home planet. We aim to use the resources we have, our voice, our business, and our community to do something about the climate crisis. So you can see a lot of similarity between their mission statement and the messaging and communication that they use on their website. So it's really nice that they keep that consistency. And another big thing about Patagonia too is whether it's a senior level VP in the organization or a store employee, everyone understands the mission at Patagonia and understands the organization's purpose. So they do all kinds of employee training, programming, and things like that, that really kind of drills in the company's purpose. They have a really great employee activism program that encourages their employees to participate in sport and volunteer with nonprofit organizations. So whoever you are in the company, you know what Patagonia is about. So how do you determine your company's purpose or develop a mission statement or purpose statement? Honestly, the best way to do it is ask a million questions about your organization. So the first thing is defining the problem that your product or service solves or the opportunity that it creates. So again, we're working in that value proposition column. Who are your customers and who benefits from your product or service? Because sometimes this is different. Whoever gives you money and is your customer might not be the end user or consumer. And it might also not be the beneficiary of the product or service. Does the planet benefit from your product or service? Where do you use the product or service? When and how often? Is it a seasonal business? Do people use it every day? What is your solution? So outside of just your product or service, talking about how you are creating this offering, how do you sell it, a little bit more of your business strategy. And this is arguably the most important question to ask in regards to your organization's purpose is how do you want your customers to feel? So for Patagonia, you notice the word inspire. So they want people to feel inspired when they purchase their products to make a difference in the community and in the planet. And now we're going to do our exercise. So you guys are going to go in breakout rooms according to your companies. I want assign someone in your organization to take notes, which would be really helpful. You can do pen and paper, or you can take notes on your computer, whatever works best for you. For each of your companies, I want you to answer those 5 questions that I'll put the previous slide on. And whenever you're answering these questions, just write as much as possible. It does not need to be grammatically correct. Don't worry about full sentences. If you want to do bullet points, that is a-okay. But for the 5 minutes, I want you to write as much as possible for this exercise, because ultimately, what we're going to try and do is we're going to identify some common words that you use frequently whenever you're answering those questions, because those common words are going to help you define your company's mission. And those common words are going to be the ones that you use very often to communicate your company's value to your customers. So whenever I did this exercise with Excitables, 3 words that came up very, very frequently for my company was inclusion, inspiration, and fun. So those 3 words I use all the time on social media, my packaging, my website, etc. So yeah, let's get started. I'll go back, I'll put this on the screen. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but just write down the answers to these questions and write as much as you can. Perfect. Awesome. So I hope that exercise was helpful for you guys, and perhaps you got started on kind of defining those key words that you can ultimately use to craft your mission statement. Yeah, so just reiterating again, kind of like where your value or purpose statement sits on the business model canvas. And so ultimately, this purpose or mission statement is going to be really useful for whenever you're communicating your organizational value to your customers. So again, use those keywords in your packaging whenever you're doing sales pitches or pitch competitions, social media, marketing materials. Those keywords in your purpose statement is going to be very important to use in those kind of marketing areas and communicating your company's value. And so I'm just going to briefly touch on some kind of best practices whenever you're communicating your organizational value. Write everything down. I cannot stress this enough. Writing things on paper is a huge asset for your business. It keeps all your team members on the same page. And it's also an asset too. Like once you write it down, you can copy and paste it anywhere. It saves you a bunch of time. And use those common words that you guys have defined often. I also think it's very helpful to make a do not list. So nothing outrageous or egregious, but just things that you will not compromise on for an organization. So one of my values for Excitables was inclusion. And we use that whenever we're creating our products. So our products are plant-based, free from all the top 10 common allergens. So I will never, ever create a product that uses any of the allergens, because as somebody who suffers from dietary restrictions, I want our products to be like as inclusive as possible. And put yourself in the customer's shoes often. Whenever you're speaking to someone, if you're doing a sales pitch or are talking to people through social media, try and put yourself in their shoes. Ask yourself, what value am I bringing to their table? What do my customers want to hear? What do they want? And this will also help you develop your business strategy, thinking of where are my customers? Like, are they on social media? Do they listen to the radio? Things like that. So often think about what value do your customers want? And lastly, if you guys face any challenges with your organization, or you just generally feel unmotivated trying to build your business, go back to your purpose, because that's ultimately kind of like the defining like value and purpose for your organization. So that I find going back to my mission statement whenever I'm feeling unmotivated really helps me as an entrepreneur, because it reminds me why I started this business. And yeah, I hope this was valuable for you guys. I hope you got some key words to define your company's value, and yeah, hope you can craft a very nice, beautiful mission statement now.
Does any questions? Or I think there are no questions, but thank you so much, Anna, for your extra help and insights to these students. I'm sure it will help them in defining their mission and purpose for their companies. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. I had a blast.
Of course. Hello, everybody. I was also told to do an introduction of myself. I'm Carmen McLean. I'm the Special Events Coordinator for Junior Achievement in Nova Scotia. Yeah, I'm a student. I'm in my 3rd year of the communications degree, and I'm awful at introductions. So yeah, I would like to introduce Brett Himmelman, who is an RBC Olympian, a Team Canada canoe athlete, and a recent graduate at St. Mary's University in Finance and Venture Capital. Brett is experienced in the entrepreneurship field, working as a project consultant for a local startup, a partner for the Venture Grade Student Investment Fund, and placed second in the Venture Capital Investment Competition for 2022. Brett is joining us from San Diego, California, where he is currently training.
Yes, thank you very much for that introduction. It's really nice to meet you all. I'm far away from home right now. I'm a bit on the West Coast, but I'm glad the timing worked up that it's actually daylight while I'm doing this presentation. I've done presentations and I've done stuff like this before where I've woken up at 4 in the morning. That actually kind of brings a funny story about the first time I did the venture capital investment competition. I was at a training camp in BC and I was finishing up the last few classes of my degree. But the competition was in Boston. Unfortunately, it was all online for the last 2 years. I had my fingers crossed this year that I was hoping to be able to go to Boston, but with the pandemic, things changed every single day. But when I was in BC for the virtual competition, it was an 8 o'clock start Nova Scotia time, which meant a 4 in the morning start British Columbia time. Now, I usually like to go to bed pretty early anyway, but waking up at 3 in the morning, trying to go through get breakfast, get all that stuff, trying to not wake up my housemates, my roommates, all that stuff. And let alone trying to use my brain at that hour. It was definitely trickier, but I was at home. We were able to be on campus for the competition the second year around, and we actually got to bond a lot more of the team. For those of you that haven't heard about what the venture capital investment competition is, if any of you have seen the show Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, instead of you with a business pitching to the venture capitalists, you're actually the venture capitalist and you have businesses pitching to you. It's really cool kind of being on that side of the coin, getting to see both sides of it. And we ended up getting pitched to by 3 businesses. One of them actually ended up being a fake business that we found out through our due diligence session, which was a wrench in the plan, that's for sure. But luckily we picked up on that before we had to present our ideas. There's a few things that you kind of look for where if you're trying to pitch to people what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get across, but also being on the other side of it and listening to venture capitals and being a part of Venture Grade, where we got pitched to by 7 businesses throughout the course of the semester. There was a few things that really kind of stood out, being like, all right, if this checks this boxes here, or if they did this or that, like there's certain things that you look towards, that you look for from the other side of things, that if I'm pitching my business or trying to make a sales pitch, being like, okay, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Seeing it from the other side has really kind of opened my perspective on things that you should do. And I'm kind of here to give a couple tips and stuff. And I also have a fun game that's when I did it the first time too, for practicing for this competition, I was like, this is absolute chaos. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So I hope you guys will get to enjoy it as much as I did. But when pitching your business, if you're the entrepreneur and you're pitching, whether it's a sales pitch or pitching to investors, how much do you think your business idea means initially to the investors? If someone wants to like turn on their mic and speak up.
Probably a lot.
It's for initially. So like the first kind of impression, like how much is your business idea, like what your business is, how much does that mean to the investors at the start of the pitch? So Ali wrote in the chat, not much. And that's absolutely correct, actually, is that the first 15, 30 seconds, minute of your pitch, the investors aren't even thinking about what your business is. And talking to some of the venture capitalists in Boston, they're just evaluating you at that point. They're looking at you, like how confident you are in you and how you speak. They're looking at like how like concise you are with your answers. They're not even thinking about your idea yet. Once they have their opinion of you, then they start digging into what your business and your idea is. Now, is that always the fairest approach? No. I would like to think that people are kind of non-judgmental and they like to look at the numbers. However, in pitch competitions, in the real world, people are judgy, unfortunately. But that can also work in your favor too. Like there's a few words that our professor kind of like told us that, okay, like if you replace these certain words with these better words that make you seem more quick moving, a bit more concise, then you have an advantage right there, because there's a certain language when it comes to pitching that people, they automatically know what that is in terms from an investor standpoint and from a pitch standpoint. Whether it's an elevator pitch where you have 30 seconds or you're in a pitch competition where you might have 10 minutes, it goes by a lot quicker than what you think that you have. Just certain things, instead of saying what we're going to do to make our business bigger or to be better. If you switch that with a word like, this is our growth plan, this is our speed to market, this is how we hope to expand. It's just simple little words like that just make you seem smarter isn't the right word, but that you're slowing down your brain. You know what you're talking about. You're not panicky, because once you have once you're confident in yourself, then you can really project your idea confidently. So what I always kind of say is that in a pitch, an investor is usually looking from my side as a venture capital. We can rule out the idea really quickly if we think the entrepreneur is either trying to cut corners, trying to like dodge the question. We always discuss it in our internal meetings as kind of being politician-like, where you want to stick straight to what you know. And there is ways of steering around that, but you also want to make sure that you're still answering whatever question the investor or your customer is trying to ask you. So 50% about what pitching is really just on you, and the other 50% is what your business is. So a couple like verbs that we kind of were told that like make you seem like you're quick moving, that you know what you're doing, like, and instead of saying get like bigger, say the word grow, or instead of saying like we did this is the progress we made, or we're trying to sell this is how we're trying to promote. Just like switching little things like that, just it's a more kind of professional language that is used. And I also have a list of these words that I can send to Nicola and can pass on to all of you. But I think we're going to get right into the activity here, which is going to lead into my point at the very end of this, is controlling the room of a pitch. So when you're trying to sell, remember, people are naturally defensive in their own mind. Like if you're trying to sell them something, if you're trying to pitch an idea to them, they're always looking for, okay, what could be wrong with this? What's the catch? I know whenever I'm being pitched something, I'm like, all right, this sounds great, but what's the catch? And a big way to kind of keep if you want to get your idea out there and keep it moving, is keeping control of the room. What I learned through my first pitch competition is once you lose control of the room, you don't get it back. Whatever you want to get out off the start, like I know a pitch might be 10 minutes, but if you don't get out what you need to get out there in the first two, then it's very easy. People might have questions, stuff's going to be thrown at you. You can plan out your 10 minutes, but you might be getting off at the exit 2 minutes in. So I'm going to explain the activity here. We're going to break out into your rooms of whatever your schools are or your teams. And the big thing is we're going to practice interrupting each other. I know this kind of sounds chaotic, and it is a lot of fun. The first time I did this, I was just watching it and I was like, this seems like absolute craziness. And you're going to get someone to lead off. So I think each room will have like a facilitator or someone to kind of lead it off. And you're just going to start talking about, you're going to start off your sales pitch, and you don't even have to be talking about the same company. You could be talking, one person could be talking about a tech company and the other person could be talking about a food company, but you were just going to practice on just like interrupting each other, keeping the flow run on. Like as soon as you kind of sense that one of your teammates is starting to trail off a bit, that's when you have to cut in and step in with something else. Now, I know you guys all have your companies that you're working on, but I just want you guys to step in and just say anything. It could be anything. I could be talking about, oh, our sales are X amount for this coming year. And then the next person could say how we're getting into these sales, or we're going to increase our production of bananas or for our smoothies. And then the next person say, oh, we've used this to put into our tech platform and we have intellectual property and IP on this. We're just going to practice interrupting each other. And then after, we'll bring everybody back here and see how it is. Any of the people in the room right now, how'd you find the activity?
It went okay, not the smoothest, but one of our members is driving at the moment, so she couldn't have her mic on, so she was just like typing into the chat. But it went okay. It went okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, it looks like we got most of the people joined in here right now. So I know that seems pretty daunting off the start, because when I did it the first time, it was pretty intimidating for me too. And it's like, oh, what do you mean interrupting the people that I'm pitching with? Like, is that rude? Is that disrespectful? But in a business environment where you only have so much time to do a pitch, you really have to lead off each other. The reason why I got you guys to do it first and then I'll explain kind of like the best way to kind of flow it after is it took me a couple times doing it first to really kind of get it and understand it. So if we have one person, I'm just going to pick a name from the screen, Hudson here, talking about their product, and they're saying that this is our product here, this is how we make it, and then as soon as they're done talking about how they're making it, then you can use a transition phrase to extend on Hudson's point about the product. Our product pricing is this, and we've come up with our pricing based on this. This is what our projected revenue is. This is what we're looking to get as a profit margin. And then once you kind of see that point end where they've talked about profit margin, then you can lead into the point how we plan on achieving that profit margin is by reaching out to this target audience. And this is our target market. This is who we want to sell our products to in our business, or this is who we want our service to be provided to, like our target market. And then when you lead on the target market, you can talk about in talking about our target market, this is how we plan on acquiring that market, and this is kind of our approach there. And there's so many points that you can lead on and on with that you can get a nice flow, whether you're talking about the target market, product pricing, the user experience, market entry, your marketing campaign, even talking about stuff like your dream for the product or your inspiration. Having all that kind of flow, it takes a lot of practice, but the more control that you have over the room, the less nerve-wracking it is when you have questions coming at you, that you can think to yourself, okay, like I know the answer to this. Let's keep the flow of what we've got going here, and yes, answer the question, then go right back to it. I don't know about all you guys, but I like being in control a lot better when I'm talking, when you're being bombarded with questions and what people are trying to say. It gets to the best of us, whether you're a high school student, a university, or you're even a serial entrepreneur where you're pitching your second or third business to a group of investors to try and get a seed round of $500,000. When people are asking you questions that you're not ready for, it's a natural human response to get caught by surprise. But the more you kind of control the room, the more confident you can be in yourself. And I've hopped in a couple of rooms. Like, it sounds like a lot of you guys have great business ideas, and you guys have a lot of like great entrepreneurship qualities, but you want to make sure that you're able to show them too. I think that's 11:05 now. 25 minutes goes by really quick. It really does. Thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. This is the first time I've kind of done an entrepreneurship kind of workshop like this before, and I've done stuff with Junior Achievement in the past, and it's always been a great group to work with, and a great organization to volunteer, be a part of. And thank you for having me a part of your event today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brett.
Thank you, Brett. That was great. And I think now I imagine I just want to do this all the time now, so I can see the students going back to their companies and being like, okay, let's just practice. And you gave me a great lead in. So talk about lead in. I do have some closing statements. First of all, this has been a fantastic event, and thanks to all facilitators for inspiring us today. I also want to thank our volunteer advisors for joining us for today's event, and for all that you do and all that you bring to mentor the students every week. Finally, thank you, students, for showing up today. And I mean showing up with purpose, and that's been a very driven word, and it resounds for a reason. And congratulations on making today a success. And I would like to announce that the date has been confirmed for our company program, trade fair, and pitch it competition. So Brett, thanks for the lead in on that. Both will be live and in person on Saturday, April 23rd. Virtual companies, stay tuned to see, we'll work out how you want to represent your company during those two events. So that's Saturday, April 23rd, and watch for details in the coming weeks. As always, contact me if you need anything at all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.